Hey friends, David Greene here. And let me begin by thanking you for the way that you have welcomed me into Jamestown United Methodist Church. It's been a little bit challenging with the COVID virus, but nevertheless, in spite of those challenges, thank you for how accommodating and welcoming you have been. I can't tell you how excited I am, how overwhelmed and humbled I am to be appointed as the next senior pastor of Jamestown United Methodist Church. It is one of the anchor churches for Methodism in our conference, and I am so excited to be able to be a part of the rich ministry of this church. In the coming days and weeks and months, I look forward to getting to know you and hearing about what it is that God is doing in your life, to hear about your hopes and dreams for this church, and to begin dreaming with you what we believe might be the next chapter that God will be writing in the long story of this church's rich ministry. During seasons of transition, I'm reminded of a phrase that is attributed to Dag Hammarskjöld. Dag Hammarskjöld was the second Secretary General of the United Nations. And throughout his life, he kept a journal, and in that journal, reflections, sayings, inspirational sayings, poems, prayers. And one of the entries that he made in that journal has stuck with me across the years. Incidentally, that journal was eventually, after his death, was eventually published as a book entitled Markings. The phrase in Markings that has resonated with me is the phrase that he wrote, "For all that has been, thanks, and for all that shall be, yes." For all that has been, thanks. Thanks for all of the members who have sacrificed, given of their time and talent and their treasures to make this church what it is today. Thank you to the staff, the long history of all the staff who have been involved to work with members and to ensure the ministry of this church is vital and life-changing. For the clergy that have served here, most recently to Tom and Chris, to Gary, CM, for the long history of clergy that have served to make this church what it is. In fact, I am just one link in a long chain of clergy to have served this church. And I'm grateful. I am grateful for the opportunity that has been given to me. For all that has been, thanks. There's this wonderful account in Deuteronomy 6. God is speaking to Moses. Moses is getting ready to lead the people into the promised land. And God reminds Moses, God says to Moses, you are going into a land to live in homes that you didn't build, to drink from wells that you didn't dig, and to harvest from vineyards that you didn't plant. I'm coming into a church to worship in a house of faith that I didn't build, to drink from wells of deep faith that I did not dig, and to harvest growth from vineyards that I did not plant. For all of that, thanks. For all that has been, thanks. And then for all that shall be, yes. During this season of change, an anticipation, an eager anticipation of what it is that God is going to be doing in the life of this church, an openness and willingness to trust that God is going to continue to work and make a difference in the lives of people, to make a difference in this community for Jesus' sake. For all that will be, yes. A willingness for us to be open to where God is wanting to lead us individually and to lead us collectively as a church family. For all that shall be, yes. There's a story that I heard a number of years ago. I was attending an anniversary celebration for Young Life Ministry back in my hometown in Shelby. And the speaker that night for the celebration was Tom Wilson, who at the time was the regional director of Young Life in Atlanta, Georgia. And Tom Wilson told about an experience that he had through a mutual friend. I got to know John Scherholz, who at that time was the general manager of the Atlanta Braves. And Scherholz invited Tom Wilson to come over for a game, that he would take him on a tour throughout the stadium, the press box, the locker room, down in the dugout, out on the field. And so Wilson made it to a Los Angeles Dodgers game. They were playing the Braves, and the Dodgers were in town, and he took a tour and eventually ended down on the field while the Dodgers were taking batting practice. Wilson said he got his courage up and eventually made his way over to Tommy Lasorda, the coach of the Dodgers, and began some small talk. And then after several minutes of conversation, Wilson asked Coach Lasorda, he asked, "What has been your best moment as a Dodger?" Wilson anticipated that perhaps maybe he would say, well, it was that home run that Kirk Gibson hit in the bottom of the ninth inning during the World Series back in the late 80s. Wilson didn't know the response that Lasorda would offer, but after several moments, Lasorda said to Wilson, "My best moment as a Dodger?" He said, "It hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet." In this new chapter that we're in, friends, I hope that statement can resonate with you. I know it's resonating with me. The anticipation that the best season in my life, in the life of this church, hasn't happened yet. My hope is that you can enter into this new season believing that God is not finished, that there's still good and great work that God longs to do in your life and in the life of this congregation as we come together with open minds and open hearts to discern where it is that God is calling us to serve in this time and in this place here at Jamestown United Methodist Church. For all that has been, thanks. And for all that shall be, yes.